Good fun.
I heard about it.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure you did.
Oh, yeah.
See if we get you some extra,
I'm going to call to order the meeting of the City of Monona's Mass Transit Commission for Wednesday, February 28th, 2026. Mark has the roll, and we do have a quorum. I'm just going to jump to the appearances section in our agenda, number 4. And we have a guest from MESBA. And this is the executive director of MESBA, Christine Welcher. And did I pronounce your last name correctly?
Yeah, Welcher.
Sure. Okay, yeah. It's a little harder CH. Okay. This item is also on the agenda this evening, but Christine, in the interest of you getting on your way and starting your evening, there's no reason for us to wait until the very part of the agenda. But Christine, I invited to come and speak with us because she has been involved in an interesting project that has some overlap with Transit Commission. Some months ago, it was actually at the groundbreaking ceremony for Top Golf. Christine and I found ourselves standing next to each other. And I know that she is very engaged in the artists community in Monona, and she's got a lot of connections. And I said, I'm not on tourism anymore, Christine, so we don't get to see each other anymore, but now I'm on transit, but there might be a chance for you and I to cross paths, even though I'm on transit, because there is this possible next step in Madison Metro being in Monona, and that is that people are now starting to think about the benches that we put along the route that Bernstein has brought it. And I wonder, is there any way that we can get some cool, artsy, creative benches? I don't know, what's out there? So weeks and months go by and nothing really happens. And then Christine pops on my radar and she goes, guess what? I found a grant. And she's just digging into this cool project. Now, it's not exactly, we don't know, but nothing is set in stone. But I just thought that I would invite Christine to share the work that she's done so far.
Thank you, Teresa. So yes, it's not, I guess they could be decorated at some point, but they're just, they're the heavy duty metal black benches that the city has already. Okay, let me start from the beginning. Our tourism rep from Travel Wisconsin sent something out saying, hey, if anybody's looking for kind of a city beautification grant, take a look at this. It's through AARP. So I contacted Diane at the senior center and said, hey, would you be willing to partner with me on something? And the first thing she thought of was benches as well, for the walking trail that you all put in. Was it last year or the year before that it was finished? So I kind of piggybacked on that and said, hey, Transit's looking for benches as well. How many could we get? So the long and short of it is the benches are kind of expensive, and the grant is only $15,000. But if we can get creative about it, and if we can make this into multi-stages, things like that, the plan would be to try to get a few benches, maybe with a canopy on a couple of them for the walking trail, to satisfy the requirements for the AARP grant, and then use any leftover money from that to also put in some benches in strategic locations. For the bus stops, I'm thinking definitely by the library and the senior center, places like that. And then that would be phase 1 through that grant. And then, once the community sees how beautiful it is and how convenient they are, see if we can find some more grants There are other communities that have done things similar to this, and there is money available through a couple of the arts foundations. Also, Travel Wisconsin has an arts grant as well. So, yeah, it just would take a little bit of digging, but it is possible.
So all of it is so the summary is that you're just at the very beginning stages of exploring this grant, and it might not be, the artsy benches that, I don't know if any of you have seen, but the city of Middleton, I just dug it up today. They have installed some beautiful bus stops which feature local art. They are absolutely beautiful, right? Just, it's so beautiful. Like, it's, you'd be surprised it's a bus stop. It's so beautiful, right? And other communities have done the same thing. So maybe down the road we explore something like that, and Christine could be a resource with her connections with, city beautification dollars that might be available. For the time being, the AARP grant sounds like there might be specific design that Jake could use in the parks. The benches he would want to match on what he probably already has, or as close as possible to what he already has in the park. I reached out to Madison Metro today. I just remember oh yeah, I was supposed to contact them. So I don't have a response yet, but I just wanted to check hey, is there any sort of coordination that needs to happen between the city and Metro? Because we're starting to think about benches. Is there a list of pre-approved designs that we need to choose from? I just wanted to know whether there were any parameters that we needed to work within, or is it just sort of anything goes, I don't know. Anyway, so that's just, it's kind of great to know that we have this, ally and resource with her ears out there and her connections, and maybe something can happen. Who knows? Did anyone have any thoughts or questions on the grant that Christine is applying for?
I'd
And
just like to make one point if I could.
sure, Rick.
Did you want to go? No, I thought she said it. Okay,
Addie had her hand, but I didn't see yours, Rick. So go ahead.
okay. One thing I just want to point out is that when it comes to benches, much of the route could take advantage of tax incremental financing.
Mm-hmm.
And so those corridors along Broadway and Monona could probably all qualify for some level of TIF funding. So if we were to get some private funding that we could use besides that, it would be best to do that, I think.
As far as the private funding, would probably, like this area down here, senior center, and stops on here are not part of the TIF. So
Right,
those areas.
right. So the civic campus, but
Yeah.
all along
Yeah,
other spots on Dean and Nichols.
I'm so
Just
glad
some-
you brought that up.
Just something to keep in mind.
No, Rick, that's really
Yeah.
perfect. And I feel silly that I didn't think of it. And I'm so glad you brought it up. So
Late.
Right.
that's absolutely right.
Dean and Nichols, you said, would Broadway as well, and Monona Drive?
Anything, I think, along Monona Drive or Broadway would easily be able to use TIF funding.
correct.
But it's Dean and Nichols streets and everything. Is that east of Monona Drive, south of Monona Drive?
Alderman Drive, oh, they're all tenants. Alderman Drive,
But anything that goes towards the lake,
Towards the lake.
towards the lake is not.
it's just not. So Dean and Nichols and Owen and Pheasant Hill and Winnequa
Would not qualify for.
would not qualify for TIF funding.
So our current TIF district, right? So it's a geographic financing program. So all along Monona Drive, that's one TIF district. And then Broadway is another TIF district. And a portion of the taxes that the developers in that district pay to the city under the agreement of under the TIF agreement, a portion has to remain in that geographic location. And it can be used for improvements to that location, such as benches. Rick, I feel so
Anything
silly
in
not
that,
even thinking about that.
anything within the TIF district, or was it 3/4 of a mile?
Yeah,
Right?
So it can be, it might be able to creep down Dean and Nichols, I'm not sure.
just a little bit.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm not sure exactly where those boundaries are gonna be, but something we should just consider.
I mean, we will have limited funds, so we can definitely prioritize not those areas then.
Right,
That would
right,
be wonderful. Yeah,
right.
yeah, thank you.
And then, Christine, the benches that you found seem to match really well on the benches. I mean, thinking about like if Jake were to want, to use that grant for his park benches, that would be within the parameters of your grant.
So the grant is through AARP, and it's basically to increase walkability and accessibility for our senior population. So it can be used anywhere within the community.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Annie. Sorry.
Addie?
Go ahead, Eddie.
Yeah, I wanted to get in on the idea of, what I think of as a really good bus stop for Monona is, of course, a really good sign that tells you what bus is coming and when, and Metro has been doing a lot for that. Second is some place to sit down, maybe even a little shelter from the sun and the rain. And the third thing is usually a trash bin. So I just kind of wanted to pitch trash bins into the pile. Sorry for the pun, that was not intentional, but there it is. And just ask if that's either something that would be a collaboration with us or with parks. I know kind of the number of trash bins seems to be shifting as we move to and from Pelletary for residential services. So I don't know if that also affects it.
What would be the right number of trash bins at each bus stop? Just one. Okay. Okay. And I wonder if those could also be like artsy, I mean, like Christine and I were just trading emails today, like, art really is like an economic driver. I mean, it really is important that city communities embrace art. So who knows?
I do have a question.
Yeah.
For the 15,000, is there a match required, or is that 100% funded?
Yeah, for this one, there is not a match needed.
Okay.
They do want to see that the community is involved. They do want to see that there are volunteers and other organizations involved. So that was one reason why, well, obviously, one, I didn't know what the senior community needed. So that's why I went to Diane. But two, having two of us together and then bringing in parks, that's 3 organizations that we can put down. And then if we can put down the city transportation committee as well, I mean, we'll bring in as many as we can.
I think
And the grant is due on the 4th of March. So if anyone has any ideas, please get them to me as soon as possible.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead, Rick.
One thing to keep in mind is that cost should probably also consider the concrete pad that would have to go in. So it's not just the bench. It's the bench and the pad.
Well, the pads are already in the park and at the bus stops. Were you thinking of additional locations?
Well, no, it's good to know, but yeah, wherever you put them, if there isn't a pad, you have to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was just walking along that trail. I often walk along that trail, and the pads have been there. They look fantastic, and now several of those pads have benches already too. So there are a few open pads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it sounds like the grant is really built more for that park area than it is anything else.
Well, not necessarily. Christine, what would you say to that? I'll let you, you're the expert on that.
Yeah. Like I said, it's just to be able to increase accessibility. The cat isn't showing us as well. To increase accessibility and walkability. So, seniors are standing around waiting for the bus. If anyone is standing around waiting for the bus, really, it's just kind of adding to the comfort and ease of using transportation, which then brings in a whole another layer of accessibility to the city. So we can add all of that into the grant. So it doesn't say anything. One of them actually was a previous grant from another year. And also I want to say this is through AARP nationally. So thousands of people apply for these grants. And a few hundred people are awarded every year. So we're going to cross our fingers. But another one was something about walking paths, and then there was one about benches up and down their main street. So this would kind of be tying both of them.
Okay.
So without having a bus stop, it could just be a bench. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say that competition's really high, it sounds, and let's just say we don't get the grant. It does sound like Alder Bernstein was so right to remind us about the TIF districts. I'm imagining that you, Christine, do have some connections to resources from the art community that maybe we could talk about that at a later time then too. Yeah.
In fact, so these are I'm sure Jake gave us the contact for these benches. So I'm sure you've all seen the metal benches at the parks. They have the slats and everything. They could be painted similar to Cows on the Concourse.
Oh yeah.
Everybody's familiar with that concept. So you could make a mural of some sort on there, but they're kind of widely spaced. So it wouldn't be the best. And they're not very wide, the actual slats, they're kind of narrow. So when I was envisioning doing something like that, I was thinking more of like truck decking benches, the plastic wood benches that would also be a little bit more sturdy and longer lasting and would withstand the winters, things like that. Those would be easier for someone to paint, for example.
It's funny you mentioned that. This is Chuck.
Hi, Chuck.
The Monona Lions Club has been collecting recycling, working with the city, and as part of their project, they get a free Next Trex bench, and I believe they might have put it in the pool area. But I believe they first approached the city about putting it at a bus stop, and they were told no, they weren't interested in that. But so I believe they've already placed the first bench that they earned at the pool, but they are continuing the program, and I'm not sure, if there's a possibility that they would get another one in the future. But yeah, those are out there, and they usually
was involved in that program, Chuck.
Yeah.
So he's very familiar with the Next Trex program. He helped the
Chuck
Lions set it up.
Chuck he gave us everything we need to know. He fully up to speed on this. Yeah, the first bench went to the parks, and I think they're very excited. Jake was thrilled with the bench. So whatever comes out of that program, he's more than willing to take. But I do think it wouldn't work where you'd have to nail it down or screw it down. I don't think it has that option with those.
Yes, that is a limitation, and that was part of their concern. I think they put it in the pool. It's in a fenced-in area, so they were less concerned it would grow legs.
Man, this guy really reads the newsletter. That's pretty admirable.
So
That's exactly right.
I'm going to try to keep things moving along. But one last thing, if anyone is not familiar, the city of Middleton has some stunningly beautiful bus stops with artwork, and you can just search for it on the internet. I found a YouTube video, Middleton Bus Shelters artwork, just really, really beautiful. Or there's other communities that have done similar things as well that we might want to think about in those TIF districts. Christine, is there anything more that you wanted to share with us? I guess we'll just figure out. We'll just cross our fingers. Thank you so much for doing this work.
Christine, do you need a formal letter of support from us for your grant application?
Good idea.
I don't remember seeing anything like that on there, but we did just go over like the big questions this last round. So after this weekend, I will take a closer look at everything, and I will get back to you on that, Addie. Thank you.
And then do we need an official like committee resolution or process or vote or anything that says 2 thumbs up, we want to provide support for this?
Good.
I think it's a good idea.
We could provide it even if it's not required.
Right. We just have to word it.
Just make a motion to it.
Okay, I'm happy to kick off that. So let me think for just a moment what would need to be in there before I actually move it. We'll need to say like what we're supporting, who's going to do the work, or what we're supporting, what will provide. So basically, brain drafting here. The Transit Commission recommends a letter of support be provided to MESBA in support of their grant application to the AARP to potentially secure benches for bus stops in Monona.
That sounds like a lovely motion. Is there a second?
So moved.
Moved second by Alder Bernstein. And any more discussion about this motion before we vote? Addie, were you thinking that Alder Bernstein or myself would draft it, or someone else at the city, or what were you thinking?
I do 20 of these a week. I am happy to smash it out and send it around for review.
That sounds fantastic. All right. Well,
Yep.
All right. So in that case, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Addie. That was so smart of you. Good group. All right, Christine, whether you need it or not, you're getting a recommendation, or whatever you call it, a letter of support. Yeah.
Well, thank you all for the time. I appreciate it. Good luck with the rest of your meeting.
Thank you, Christine. Okay, let's move on then to our next agenda item, number 5, continuing business. Charles, you've been doing some homework looking into pedestrian safety in crosswalks and some flags. Can you tell us what you found?
Yes. So I apologize, I didn't reply to the email. I didn't have anything for the material packet, but I did reach out to it's called the Pedestrian Flags Over Dane County program. It's run by Safe Communities Dane County, and it's probably been a couple months ago now, closer to the holidays. I reached out and spoke with the gentleman there. And how this program works is there's an application that they have on their website. The brochure and materials, they're in the middle of kind of refreshing them because they're also starting a kind of a new twist to the program where they're implementing art in with the flags, probably like the container or something. So the way that they've normally worked, they've not worked with Monona before, but they're open to it. They've worked with Madison. I'm not sure if they've worked with Fitchburg Middleton, but anyone can submit a request to them to ask for pedestrian safety flags to be put at a location, and then they will contact the municipal, governing body that's responsible for the area and work with them to see if they're interested in it. There's not a whole lot of cons to it. So how it works is each side of the street would have a container to hold a number of flags, and then the pedestrian would pick up the flag and hold it up as they're proceeding across the street, and then put it in the thing on the other side of the street. They said that there haven't typically been issues with people walking off with flags. They've not encountered that previously. The only hitch occasionally, if there's more traffic going one direction as opposed to the other, all the flags periodically might end up on one side of the street. If there's a significant, pattern of traffic going in a single direction instead of both ways. They've had people kind of address that issue by maybe having somebody in the neighborhood, just kind of check on it from time to time and see if it needs, the flags need moving. But they're very low cost. He didn't have an exact amount, but I think he said for their entire program for the year, and they have multiple locations, or for the entire program was less than $2,000, he said. So a single location with maybe 2 flag containers, there wasn't an exact cost, but it sounded, very low cost. Comparatively speaking, if you're talking about a signal or something, that's several $1,000s at least, probably. So if we were talking about flashing beacons or things like that. So so that's the information that I have about that from them. So he said that anyone can put in a request, and if somebody would happen to, then they would reach out to Monona and work with the traffic department or streets.
Wonder, would they work with Public Works? Is that how that
Or,
works?
yeah, I talked to Danny's aware of it, so
Sure.
we're looking at it. So it'd be go through Public Works. They would have to officially approve it.
So, Charles, you mentioned the cost of $2,000. Does that mean how many flag stations are included in that $2,000 price?
That's a good question. I don't know a specific number. I know they have a number of sites around the community, but I don't have an exact number of how many.
So I guess what I'm wondering about, is it a recurring cost? Is it $2,000 a year? Is it
No, I
$2,000
believe
per crossing per year? Is it?
Yeah, I believe the cost overall he was speaking of was for everything that they put out. He said that the flags they haven't had a problem with theft, so they don't typically need to keep going out and replacing them. It would just be probably the cost of the flags themselves and then the containers. I can give him a call back and see if there's if we could get an exact estimate.
Yeah, I would be interested in knowing how that works. Is it $2,000 to join the program, and that covers X number of crossings?
He said that was for their entire program with all the sites. So he made it sound like it might be a few $100s for for a location or something. But yeah, I can get more specifics. And I'm hoping that now that it's been a couple months, he did mention that they were refreshing their materials and things about this. And they also did mention that they have, normally if we were to move forward with having a location, they advise putting out a safety campaign we could do with a newsletter or on the city website or something, to reach out and let people know or educate the public about what does it mean when somebody's holding up a flag at that location and things like that. So they do have some of that material that they can make available as well.
Any questions from the other members in the room?
Yeah, just to remind myself, if I remember correctly, this was in response to an email that we had gotten from a citizen that was having issues crossing at Monona Drive at...
It was, I believe, Monona and Femrite.
Okay.
And yeah, how you're kind of coming up the hill, Femrite, and then you're coming up the hill on Monona Drive, and so yeah, and then there's a little angle there, and yes, that was the email from the resident.
Thank you for refreshing my memory.
Any other questions? I wonder how do we go about, or how, I would imagine this would all be worked out when this organization reaches out and contacts the city. I'm sure they have a way of determining which crossings are in, most need of this sort of pedestrian safety. Mark, how would you imagine the next steps would go? Is that what you would?
I think we would need to get something from them. Or from at least the Transit Commission, and then go, something present at the Public Works Committee, give them.
What about public safety?
That's a good question. They probably want to take a look at it too, depending on what part of the road it is. They might just take a quick look at it. I know the Public Works for sure have to officially approve it, because it ends up being kind of a crosswalk.
It
If
does.
it's not a curve. So we would have to take a look at it.
So I know that Alder Bernstein was a really strong advocate of the beacons that a couple were installed. And Charles, your point is very good about how this is much more cost, it's a much lower cost approach to solving the same problem. So I'm wondering, would it make sense to have a motion for next steps? Charles, it sounds like, what does this body think? Do you think that it makes sense for this organization to reach out to Mark and Mark could direct them to Dan or the next person? Would that make sense, Mark? That you just sort of be the
I think I work with Dan.
as the city liaison for transit,
Yeah, I talked to Dan, the city Public Works Director, get his feedback, and I think if he wants to put it on the agenda so they can talk about it. See if there's a possibility. First, because they'll have to take a look at it and see if it makes sense for them to have it. Because there's gonna be, I don't know if there's a current crosswalk right at that spot. I don't remember.
I believe there is a crosswalk at that intersection.
Yes.
There is a crosswalk. They don't have to walk up, it's right across from the bus stop.
So Chuck, I think if you did plan to circle back with your contact at this organization, you would want that contact to have that specific intersection noted.
Yes, on their application, they specify, what street is it at what intersection, and they asked for, if there's not immediately at the corner, what descriptor for like a closest landmark and things like that. And yeah, there is a crosswalk to cross Femrite at Monona Drive, and then there's another crosswalk to cross Monona Drive on the north side of Femrite there by the Anytime Fitness Plaza. So there's two of the three edges of the intersection have crosswalks painted.
Yeah, if you can have them copy me in, and I can work with Dan and get the feedback from Public Works, and then come back to this meeting. I think probably come back to this meeting, tell you what their feedback is, and see if we want to pursue one way or the other.
So, Mark, do we need an official motion or anything, or do we already have what we need?
I don't think we need an official one yet I don't believe we need one yet until the next step to make the recommendation. So I think we can get the information, I can work with Dan and come back for a motion.
Okay, so Charles, do you know so just email Mark. And if you don't mind, I'd be curious, could you just courtesy copy me on the email just so I am in the loop? That would be nice.
Sure, I can CC
but then Mark will take it
even
from
the group
there.
if needed. Okay.
Yeah. That's wonderful.
That
Thank you.
sounds like a great plan.
I appreciate all the work that you did to look into that. Thank you.
No
All
problem.
right. Great. The next thing that we wanted to look at was on the agenda here, moving on to number 6C, review of some possible questions and statistics for a future Metro presentation at council. We are coming up on the 1-year anniversary of Madison Metro in Monona. And so the mayor thought it would be very appropriate to share some statistics with council. I've been sharing anecdotally you know, at the end of council meetings, there's always a time where we share things about the committees that we've been working with. But this would be just more of a, you know, it's on the agenda. A visitor from Metro comes to a council meeting and they share some statistics. And I just put together a list. It is in your packet. It is very similar to the statistics we have already reviewed. There's nothing too surprising that you will see. If there's anything that stands out, anything that you wonder about, please let me know or let us know. There was a third section. There was general feedback, and then number 2 was ridership, and then number 3 was financials. And the mayor wanted us to just take that off. But some of the questions I had were, you know, like, what is the cost to the city? You know, just things like that, that I think a lot of citizens might want to know about. That's something that we may or may not include. I'll have to circle back with the mayor on that to make sure I understood her wishes. Addie.
I just wanted to explicitly break out under the general feedback area to have a specific section on any safety issues, any accidents that happened, and especially if there were none. I want to make really sure that we're touching intentionally upon that, because that was, you know, the number 2 concern that people had in our community about bringing these buses. And I want to make sure that we're reflecting back to them, like these were their concerns. And so we have information specifically about any safety issues, etc.
Very, very good idea. I will make sure that that is added. Any other thoughts on other questions that should be added or rephrased or
if it's possible to get this information from Madison Metro, it might be helpful to know how many people, if they can say how many people with Monona addresses have qualified for the reduced price fast fare cards. So they have like the low income ones, and I think for kids also, that might just be kind of an interesting data point.
is it, did you say kids or is it like student? Is that another word for
I
it?
can't remember what, I know there's one that's based on income, and then there's another one that's based on age.
Okay.
Can't remember what exactly it is though.
I like that. So have there been any safety concerns? How many people in Monona what do you say? Are fast fare cards that are that qualified for the reduced price? Okay.
Teresa, I wanted to add one other thing, because we did talk early on about how employers can work with Metro to get bus passes discounted or for free for their employees. And so I'd love to know, I don't think we need to know statistics about, but a list of businesses that operate in Monona that participate in that program, I think would be a lovely thing to highlight.
Is the question how many employers are participating in that program? Is that, or have any applied to participate? Okay. What is the name of that program, Addie? Do you happen to know?
No, I think it's under their partnership for businesses, but it is a federal tax program that I think they're operating under.
Okay.
Do you want me to go trolling through my notes? Because I think I wish Christine was still here because she was the last person I talked to about it.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Anything else we're missing? If we do add back some statistics that are financial, it probably would be choose to make some comparison between our first student contract and the new Metro contract. There is something that I don't quite understand, and I think Alder Bernstein brought it up in a previous meeting, and I should have circled back with you between meetings, Rick. My apologies, but there is an aspect to the financial puzzle that something about money that comes back to the city. Did I understand you saying that correctly, or am I completely misunderstanding what you may have said?
Money doesn't come back to the city, it's
Right.
netted.
It's,
There is
what did
one.
you say?
It's netted against the bill. So the money that it's when you go on the trip and you pay, we don't physically get the cash.
Right.
They get it and they net it against the expense. So say the bill's $100, our bill is $100, they receive $25 revenue, then our bill is $75 we pay the Metro.
Okay.
So we don't
So
actually
the
ever get physical cash. It's a net amount.
So Monona pays a flat fee to have Metro come to Monona,
Yeah,
and the more riders that get on the bus, the higher the revenues from those riders becomes, which affects the price that we pay.
yeah, yes.
Very good. Okay. Is there any financial statistic this body is interested in understanding? We don't have to have any, just wanted to ask. Okay, great. All right, in that case, I will add the 2 points, one that Jillian brought up and one that Addie brought up. I'll add those to the list of questions and we'll get those shipped off to our contact at Madison Metro. Tentatively, the thought was that at our next meeting, March 11, we would have the folks from Metro appear on video and just review those answers to those questions with us. And then on March 16th, which would be the following opportunity to present to council, that council presentation would happen on March 16th. Now, the council presentation may be pushed back. Our agendas are not so full, but sometimes council agendas are so full that they have to shift things to a later meeting. So that's just the March 16th date is very tentative, but almost certainly we can expect the March 11th, our next transit meeting, to have a visitor from Metro.
Go back to Addie's thing about the safety issues. I have to file a report with the state every quarter and we get information from Metro. There was in the 4 quarters since the beginning, there's been one, just looking at one reportable event, one injury. So something when they come next time, we can ask them about. So there is one thing I had to file with this when I do the state quarterly reports they gave me. So there was one thing.
Wonderful, or not wonderful, I'm sorry. That was
Does that, like, do the things you have to report, is it, like, say, for example, someone had a heart attack on the bus and they had to call the paramedics, does it include any incident
I
that
think it
involves public
does.
safety? Oh, okay, so it doesn't necessarily
mean like an accident.
mean an accident, okay.
But yeah, but that's all I have to report. They don't tell me. They don't tell me what it is. Usually if it's something really happens or if they're doing some stuff, they'll say, hey, you know, like the instance where somebody got attacked on a bus, it wasn't our route. But they'll say like there's been, you know, things like that going on, just
Okay.
different accidents, but they'll let us know.
Okay.
And then currently right now, we're all the other districts that are using Metro. We're doing quarterly meetings now with Metro. So Sun Prairie, Middleton, Pittsburgh, they're all there. And the head person, I forget her name, the new person, she presents, and they do talk about accidents, things like that.
That's interesting.
That is
They talk, yeah. And why, I don't know if you've heard, they had that huge. They were short this year. Metro was short like $4 million. They had to take it out of their reserves. They talk about what happened and they overshot their rapid transit numbers a little bit, so. Well, they got everything adjusted, they said, so they're hearing stuff out there.
Okay.
It was a big deal a couple months ago. It's got
Curious or something about that.
Okay. Excellent. I'm going to move on then to, we're at the end of our agenda. Is there anything else that someone would like to bring up either tonight, something that's not on the agenda, something that we might want to consider for a future agenda topic? Right.
Jumping back just a moment, when do we get an invite to participate in this metro meeting?
It will be at our next transit meeting, the 11th.
Oh, sorry, not when Metro comes and joins us, but when Monona gets to have a representative on the what seems to be the wider or the city-wide, or the Sun Prairie and Verona and Middleton and Madison, and when do we get to participate meeting?
We might eventually do one. Right now, it's just currently just the like the administrators from each of them, the different cities. So I usually a lot of times I'll do one with the mayor, an annual one, which they haven't scheduled yet. So they don't really do them for missions and stuff like that. So.
But does Monona yet have a representative?
Well, I haven't been to the meetings. Neil was gonna go, but I went to the meeting. It's just a Zoom meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, they just talk about what's going on. If there's questions. Most of those people are off contract, so from ours. So they're all getting ready to renegotiate. So there's a lot of back and forth with those guys. They'll call their contract. I mean, there's more talking contract related stuff coming up and some different more issues related to that. Because I think we're the only one that's not on the same schedule as, like, I think Fitchburg, Middleton, I don't remember the other ones. They all have the same years. Verona all have the same years for negotiations. So the administrators were all hammering stuff about the contract negotiation coming up. So that was out of theirs. But they also talked about ridership, the rapid transit stuff, and what they're hearing from their people as far as writers and stuff like that. So it's a really good meeting.
Hey, does that answer your question, or does it get to maybe the question you were asking? Or it sounds like we do have representation.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And it sounds like perhaps the type of representation is more about contracts and financial agreements.
Yeah, it's that. I mean, it's us to ask them a lot of questions. And
okay. That sounds great. I'm going to move on then to, I guess I will take a motion to adjourn in that case, unless there is something that Charles would like to bring up.
So yeah, I just had one thing I wanted to mention, and when you're talking about other topics, and it's not something necessarily we have to talk about today, but maybe sometime in the future. I don't know if all of you follow the news or how you follow the news, but I did notice the unfortunate tragedy involving Metro with the, well, not directly involving Metro, but the high school student that was struck by a car on Park Street and passed away. I know there's a big call from Madison to look at their different bus stop locations and routes going to schools and things like that. And I know we don't have routes going to the Monona Grove High School like Madison has dedicated school routes, but maybe at some point, and it could be a larger maybe discussion about pedestrian safety and going in with schools in general. But if we do have folks taking the bus to Monona Grove, it would be just something good to keep an eye out for and look at, are the, maybe just even in general, where we're talking about pedestrian safety and with the flags and other things, just keeping an eye on if there's more problematic intersections, trying to, avoid, hopefully, if, future tragedies by, mitigating that or, keeping an eye on it or making adjustments.
I wonder if this will be discussed as part of the Flags Over Dane County discussion. I wonder if that might surface. And I would also say that if a future Public Works Committee meeting does have, a discussion on the agenda about Flags Over Dane County, by all means, everyone in this room would be welcome as a member of the Transit Commission to join in that conversation and to come to that meeting. And absolutely. So, yeah. All right, was that what you were getting at, Charles? Or were you
Yeah, I
thinking
just wanted
something
to
more? Okay.
wanted to mention it's something that I've thought about is if we have folks that are taking Metro to the high school, and I don't know that we do, but if we did, we just want to make sure that, and really anyone taking the bus anywhere, we want to make sure that the stops are in a good spot and, you know, safety wise and things like that. And I know that's something we're thinking about. So,
Yeah.
like I said, it's not something we have to address today, but it's good to keep in mind.
So just so you know, the stops that we have right now were chosen by Metro based on their safety analysis and their research and however it is that they conclude that a
Okay,
stop should be
good.
in a particular area. Are you interested in whether, I mean, is there something you might want to hear from Metro? Like, so, you know, how's that working? Did you make the right choice? Is there any,
Maybe
concerns
if
about
we
your-
follow the discussion that Madison is having, like if because they placed the bus stops and I believe the person was in a crosswalk and everything, and so if they decide maybe they find areas where they might want to make changes, that might be something good to keep an eye on, so we can learn from them as they're learning. But that is good to know.
Would a question be something like, what is the procedure for evaluating the safety of the current bus stops that you have? Is that kind of what you're?
Sure, or if they have any, based on any kind of like reevaluation or looking at things, if they've, you know, made any recent discoveries that would impact how they might do things differently, would any of those situations apply in Monona?
Sure. How do they evaluate safety? Yeah, there is something that actually came up over the winter months. So I think we've talked about this also, but you know, on Nichols Road, if you're heading away from the city center toward Monona Drive, and you're going up that hill on Nichols Road, the church is kind of off to your right side in the distance. If in the winter, so that is a three-way intersection, right? And the reason it's a three-way stop, it's a three-way stop. It's a four-way intersection, but the people going in that direction don't stop. The stop signs are only on 3 roads. And the reason is because in the winter, the ice, you just can't make it up that hill. Yet there is a bus stop as you're going up the hill. So it kind of puts the driver in a really tough situation. We witnessed the buses struggling to get up that hill a couple days of the year when there was some ice on the road. So, sure. What's the procedure for evaluating, you know, the safety and the effectiveness of the stops that they chose? That's a great question, Charles. All right. Jillian, did you have any questions? I don't want to
No.
see you in the room there. Okay. In that case, Addie, any more questions? Anything? No? Great. Alder Bernstein, anything?
I'm good.
No? Excellent. Let's have a motion to adjourn. From
So
anyone.
moved.
So moved from Addie. Is there a second?
Sure, I'll second.
Charles has a second. All in favor of adjourning tonight at 6:57, say aye.
Aye.
Any? Okay. Meeting adjourned. Thanks, everyone. Always a pleasure.
Right.
Great conversation.